Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Folks, this right here is exactly why I was so vocal in criticizing Jussie Smollett, because I knew that his hate hoax antics, his selfish, self-promoting scam, would not only be incredibly divisive, doing exactly the same thing that Joe Biden's doing, painting 50% of the country as hateful, angry, violent, MAGA racists, but it would also spawn a bunch of copycats. Just imagine if Jussie Smollett got away with it. Imagine how many more Jussie Smollets there'd be. Luckily enough, he didn't get away with it, but it doesn't matter, because we have seen such an incredible increase in viral hate hoaxes since the Jussie Smollett incident, and apparently here comes another one from a female Duke University volleyball player who started this big media scandal, claiming that she was the victim of a hate crime from a fan at a BYU match. And guess what, folks? Apparently, based on the information that we have right now, it's looking like the whole thing is one big hoax, one big scam, as BYU did a thorough investigation and found zero evidence to suggest any racial slurs were ever uttered. Let me show you guys what's going on here, and what's even more reprehensible is Duke University doubling down. We got another one of these to cover, folks, so let's roll the tape. Alright friends, so a little bit over a week ago, this story was bouncing all over the internet. Duke volleyball player subjected to racial slurs, hopes for change in college sports. The individual in question did a media tour where she was saying stuff like this.
I believe that meeting anger with anger, it just starts a cycle of more anger. As a young Black woman in America, I know I don't have the privilege of reacting all the time, or else it paints that face of, oh, you're just another angry Black woman. I felt as though responding to it in the way that I did would help the greater purpose, and that's creating awareness, and that's allowing everyone from both sides to better see the fact that we should all be working towards a common goal. We shouldn't be trying to create two sides.
Giving a whole social justice spiel all over the media on various different networks. And of course, like normal, the Twitter sphere, left-wing activists, and the Democrat mainstream media bought the story hook, line, and sinker, didn't even bother investigating or questioning, just immediately ran with it. Literally not asking a single important question. Zero investigative work. In fact, they were so staunch in their belief that this absolutely happened that we're even still seeing headlines like this. Right-wing conspiracy theory involving Duke volleyball player is absurd. It's something you may not have noticed. It's like QAnon or mass election stuff. It's just another conspiracy theory. This one, that Duke volleyball player Rachel Richardson, who said that she was called multiple racial slurs while playing a game at BYU, made the entire thing up. So you see the kind of angle that a lot of people in the media were taking. TYT released this video as well.
Someone in the crowd was screaming racial slurs loud enough to be heard on the volleyball court by at least one player. Wouldn't there be video of this?
Conservative media is now running with the story of calling Richardson a liar from Outkick's Clay Travis.
They try to make it about right versus left, and that right-wingers are just terrible people who are in denial about racism in America. Take a look at this TYT Sports headline. Duke student speaks out against, quote, bigoted deniers. Bigoted deniers? Nobody's denying. People are just questioning. That's a pretty damn good question that we heard from that little Outkick video. If somebody was yelling terrible racial slurs during a volleyball game across the gym, someone must have heard it, right? Why is it that it's just this one specific student who claims that she heard something? It's their word above everybody else. And there's basically nobody. There's not a single person that I'm aware of. It's possible that maybe some of her student athlete teammates are corroborating the story, but again, that seems a little bit biased. Where are the non-biased witnesses? Where are the people who are in the crowd, or people who are on the court corroborating the story? That's a legitimate question. That's not a racist, bigoted, right-wing denier or denial. But of course, left-wingers took this stance because, of course, if they didn't stand by made-up racism hoaxes, well then probably their American racism narrative would fall apart now, wouldn't it? But of course, the reality is, even if they do stand by him, the narrative still falls apart because it turns out that this whole thing is allegedly, apparently, one big lie. We just received an official statement from BYU after their thorough investigation. A statement from BYU Athletics regarding the investigation of the August 26th volleyball match. As part of our commitment to take any claims of racism seriously, BYU has completed its investigation into the allegation that racial heckling and slurs took place at the Duke vs. BYU women's volleyball match on August 26th. We have reviewed all available video and audio recordings, including security footage and raw footage from all camera angles taken by BYU TV of the match, with broadcasting audio removed to ensure that the noise from the stands could be heard more clearly. We also reached out to more than 50 individuals who attended the event: Duke Athletic Department personnel and student athletes, BYU Athletic Department personnel and student athletes, event security and management, and fans who were in the arena during that evening, including many of the fans in the on-court student section. From our extensive review, we have not found any evidence to corroborate the allegation that fans engaged in racial heckling or uttered racial slurs at the event. As we stated earlier, we would not tolerate any conduct that would make a student athlete feel unsafe. That is the reason for our immediate response and our thorough investigation. They later go on to apologize because they actually suspended or banned a fan from attending events because the Duke University student making the accusation pointed that individual out. They apologized and unbanned the individual. So apparently what we're seeing here is that possibly a Duke University student made a false allegation against an innocent bystander, possibly throwing that individual under the bus. BYU caved to the immediate pressure, did an investigation, and then came to the conclusion that they wrongly banned and reprimanded this individual. I mean, this is an egregious action if the whole thing is a hoax, and it looks like it is. And probably one of the craziest parts of this whole situation is that now Duke University is standing firm despite BYU finding no evidence of fans uttering racial slurs.
BYU says they could not find evidence to prove a fan shouted racial slurs, and Duke University clearly took offense. Duke University far less forgiving, clearly believing BYU is insulting the character of their student. The statement from Athletic Director Nina King: the 18 members of the Duke University volleyball team are exceptionally strong women who represent themselves, their families, and Duke University with the utmost integrity. We unequivocally stand with and champion them, especially when their character is called into question. Duke Athletics believes in respect, equality, and inclusiveness, and we do not tolerate hate and bias with the hashtag hate won't live here.
I mean, this is what happens, folks. Talk about a double standard. Talk about privilege. To make an accusation like that and for it to seemingly be a completely false accusation, instead of being held accountable and having to face some sort of consequence for that kind of action, woke university administrations are going to double down and stand by the false accusation. I mean, that is disgusting. They're just standing by their student. They don't even necessarily have to say, well, oh, it must be fake, so we're going to reprimand our student. I mean, the least that they could do here is start an investigation, but it doesn't even seem like they're interested. They'd rather stick by the woke social justice narrative, even if it's a fake, destructive hoax. And that is truly despicable, possibly even equally as despicable as the hoax itself. Leftoids and wokies are actively encouraging hate hoaxes. They did the same thing with Juicy Smollett. There is no accountability, and the amount of societal destruction that is ensuing, that they're enabling, is the saddest part of the story, as they feed into Nancy Pelosi and Liz Cheney's narrative and Joe Biden's new ultra MAGA narrative. And as they enable all of these destructive lies and hoaxes, it shows you exactly who they are, people who are willing to lie despite the damaging impact, as long as it benefits them and benefits people on their side, regardless of how unbelievable this whole thing is. And let me show you guys how unbelievable and how fishy this whole thing is. After the young student athlete at Duke University made this allegation, immediately after, Lisa Pamplin for Congress, an aspiring left-wing politician, released a tweet. The details are right over here. A week ago Saturday, political candidate at Lisa Pamplin tweets out allegation of racism that her goddaughter, Rachel Richardson, experienced while playing a volleyball match versus BYU in Provo, Utah. These are major allegations and should be taken with the utmost seriousness. Mrs. Lisa Pamplin stated that she was called the N-word every single time she served. Now again, you mean to tell me that every single time the individual in question served the volleyball that somebody yelled such a despicable word? And you expect me to believe that after a thorough investigation, not a single witness can corroborate this claim? It's just absolutely unbelievable. And it doesn't make you a bigoted denier if you have questions and you don't believe the allegation at hand, because it is totally unbelievable, and it's frankly despicable if we have another situation where another another individual completely lied, doing something so reprehensible for personal gain. Again, folks, this is what we said the whole Juicy Smollett situation was going to lead to. The way the left-wing media promoted and propagated and defended Juicy Smollett for years. Obviously, more of those types of hoaxes was going to be the end result and the end outcome. People who are lying about this stuff and people who are promoting these false stories must be investigated, and they must be held accountable for their actions. This should be, and I'm pretty sure it is, this is a crime, and it should be treated as such. But that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you guys are up for it. I'm gonna get back to work. Thanks for watching, friends, and I will see you on the next one.